a week away, we are back with the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV for round number 4 of the championship and the second of our endurance races from down under at Mount Panorama Circuit in Bathurst. And well, it's myself, Paul Smith, and Peter Mackay here on commentary, and well, one of the great endurance venues in the whole of world motorsport gets to host the World GT Championship once again. And we appear to have lost Peter Mackay's audio. I wonder if he's not pressed the button to unmute his microphone. We'll soon find out. Hey, it was good in the pre-show. It was good and fine in the pre-show. But anyway, have we got you now, Peter? I hope so. Yes.
I think I need new batteries in my keyboard for my push-to-talk by the sounds of it. That's a great time for it to let go. As I was saying, Paul Smith, this is one of the toughest endurance venues anywhere in the world. You have Nürburgring, you have Le Mans, but Bathurst is its own challenge, and going up over the mountain, threading a car there right on the limit, very, very difficult indeed.
Yeah, these drivers, 49 of them here session today, will be challenged for this circuit for an hour and 45 minutes. Well, we've had the first quarter of the championship here this season. We started off at Watkins Glen for one of our endurance races, Interlagos and Red Bull Ring at the next two. Then, as you can see, we're at Bathurst for this endurance race, then Circuit Zolder and Twin Ring Motegi. Before then, at the season break, we then head on over to Sebring for the third of our endurance races. Monza and Oschersleben, 8 and 9 before Daytona. Manicourt and Hockenheim finishes off our season on the 1st of May. May Day, what a day for race day. And well, what a time it is in the Pro Championship. Just 2 points separates Leandro Andaruti and Alex Davidson, the privateer, against the Pure Sims Esports driver. Aaron Vasquez then in third place, 48 behind the championship leader, with Ross McFarlane and just 1 point ahead of Lucas Prada, his teammate, loitering around there. Christoph Krekas is in 6th ahead of Fabio Unverdross, with Jack Sedgwick, Josh Thompson and Massimo Ocatello rounding up the top 10. In the Pro-Am standings, it's Daniel Sedgley who leads that one for Platinum Racing Team. 29 point between him and James Beamy in the Altitude Esports car. Ethan Critchley, third place, just 49 points off of the leader right now for him in the Century Sim Esports car. Pete Harrod in 4th ahead of Kevin Bellens, with Tim Perry, Justin Claessens, Tom Brown, Richard Simner and Harold Stadler rounding out the top 10. Then in your AM Championship, it is 53 points is the gap between Andy Archer, the Century Sim Esports driver, and Adam Hedgecock, the Altitude Esports Blue driver. Sophia Ridpath, great to see her for Platinum Racing Team in 3rd place ahead of Lars Van Rijn, a former AM champion. Paul Crawford, Jack Osborne, Jeroen Kaiser, Maciej Sakovic, Benjamin Gregory and Joe Newman round out the top 10 of the AM Championships. In your team standings, well, it's quite the lead for Pure Sims Esports so far. A 242 point lead they've got over German simracing.de by ACV. Brabham Esports, 3rd place in class ahead of Altus Esports, Pure Sim SimLab, Beehive Racing, Brabham Esports Hissing Sid, Altitude Esports, German simracing.de and Altitude Esports White. In your AM Team Championship, it is Platinum Racing Team doing well at the front, but they're just 4 points clear of Century Sim Esports. Then it's Altitude Esports Blue with DCW Racing 4th place, 3M UK, Team Mad, Century Sim Racing, Penguin RC Simulation, Inex Racing and Team Redline. Yes, you read that right, an AM team down there in 10th place. It is because Josh Thompson is the only one representing the team. That's why he gets put in the AM Teams Championship. Conditions out there, well, it's lovely, clear blue skies, but 37 degrees track temperature. You would imagine, Peter, that will be getting hotter all the way through this race.
You bet it will, and some of the temperatures that you can get here at Bathurst are just a couple of hours outside of Sydney. And, you know, in Sim, well, we're right in the middle of Australian summer at the moment, November, so very, very hot on the track, and that's going to play havoc on the tyres. Here in the endurance races in the World GT Championship, we have a slightly longer stop and a shorter stop. When you take those stops, that's all part of the game.
Yes, as you say there, Peter, 2 mandated pit stops in this hour and 45-minute race coming up. There is the potential, always the potential around here, of a safety car or 2. Hopefully, we don't see any of them, but you never say never around this venue. But certainly these drivers and teams will be hoping that to stay out of trouble. Jack Sedgwick is provisionally your pole position sitter ahead of Tristan Iglesias. We'll give you your full grid in about half a minute's time or so. But Peter, you know, we've got a long race here. Strategy always comes into play in these endurance races, and Anderuti had told us that this isn't his favourite track.
He did tell us that it wasn't his favourite track. However, you know, he's a master of understatement as well. I mean, at Watkins Glen back in round 1, well, he played a blinder on everyone with his fuel strategy as well. That Porsche is a seriously frugal machine, and it can run a little bit longer on a tank of fuel than the rest of the field, so watch out for Anderuti.
Yeah, you certainly want to keep your eyes on Leandro. But we are getting ourselves set for this race of the evening. I nearly said opening race of the evening. It's just one race here today for you, and let's have a look at that grid. So it's Sedgwick and Iglesias, the front row of the grid, with the Altus Esports teammate Aaron Vasquez, and third alongside him Ross McFarlane. Lucas Prada, Massimo Locatello round out row number 3. The fourth row of the grid is Leandro Anderuti with Alex Davidson there. James Boyme is the top of your Pro-Am drivers on the fifth row of the grid with James Armstrong. Justin Claessens and Fabio Unvadrus rounding out row number 6. Row 7 for Ethan Critchley and Josh Thompson with Christoph Krakis and Daniel Sedgley. Then Daniel Handover and Ashley Finch on row number 9. 10th row of the grid is your top AM, Sophia Ridpath. What a qualification in that BMW. Alongside her is Jordan Johnson. Then it is Marvin Lesmallman and Tom Brown in row 11. Row 12 for Hunter McDaniel, Andy Archer. The 13th row of the grid is Adam Tompkins with Adam Watson. Jack Osborne and Joe Newman on the 14th row of the grid with Paul Crawford and Sarah Raab rounding off row number 15. 16th row is David Wiles with Tim Perry, Jensen Adriansons and Aaron Rose with Maciej Sakovic and Richard Simner on row number 18. Row 19 for Daniel Nolt with Lars van Rijn. The 20th row of the grid is Jim Whitehouse and Mark Woodhouse. Then it's Paddy Faulkner and Jeroen Kaiser on row number 21. Row 22, Lee Berridge and Brian Sohn with Adam Hedgecock and Pete Harrod on the next row. Harold Stadler and Jonathan Walker back there with Ben Gregory. 4 drivers did not set a lap time, and we're all set for a 49 car grid to take on this impressive venue. But first of all, we've got to get through the opening laps of the race, where this could be hit or miss. Hopefully it'll be a hit.
Well, and for the right reasons, hopefully. It is so difficult on the opening lap here at Bathurst, especially in a field as packed as this. This is even more cars than you would get in the Bathurst 12-hour here on iRacing, so it's a very difficult start to the race. Cold tyres, so the drivers have really got to be on top of that and just try and survive these opening lap or two.
Well, as the drivers head themselves around the penultimate corners here at the Chase into Murray's Corner, named after great Murray Walker, and we're going to be setting ourselves away. Jack Sedgwick in control of the field through Murray's, and we're going to see the green flag. We're underway for action here in round number 4 of the World GT Championship at Bathurst. Into turn number 1, they will go Hell Corner. And then you've got that long run up Mountain Straight for the first time. Everybody getting through. Look at all these cars still streaming through that Hell Corner. Up and over the rise. It really rises up and then dips down before you go back uphill again. Uphill braking into Quarry. Turn number 2. And again, cold tyres and brakes can catch people out at this point. A squirrely car there. That was Ashley Finch. in that Pure Sim Lab car. A little bit squirrely, side-by-side action through the cutting for the first time. And James Armstrong not able to gain any places. In fact, lost places Fabio Inverdrus on this opening lap. And this is where it gets a real roller coaster. Up over the top of the mountain now, through the right hand, the left-hander at Sullivan Park and McPhillamy Park, and then plunge downhill through Skyline and the S's for the first time into the dipper. And there's contact with a wall. That was one of the German sim racing cars. Does everybody make it through? I think it was Inverdrus.
It was Fabio Inverdrus, just ran wide coming out over Skyline. I don't know if he was helped out wide, but he went straight on into the wall, and that will surely mean an early pit stop from Fabio Inverdrus. At this stage, he'll just be hoping he can get that car back to pit lane without any fuss, but you know, I think he's having to take the tow, Paul.
Yeah, he's taken the tow back to pit road. But we're carrying on with green flag action. He was the only car that seemed to get caught up in all of that through the chase in towards the final corner for the first time at racing speeds. And so far, it's Jack Sedgwick who leads from Aaron Vasquez, who got the jump over his teammate of Tristan Iglesias. It's up to second place for Aaron. And then Ross McFarlane, fourth place, Lucas Prada, fifth, and Duruti and Davidson have both gained one place in the early going of this race. Very little movement in the top, but already I can tell you Josh Thompson has gained 3 places in that first lap, up to 11th place.
Yeah, good stuff there from the Manxman for Team Redline, but top marks to all of our World GT drivers. They are getting through pretty much completely unscathed as Thompson goes up the inside again of James Armstrong, so Audi on Audi there as well. So Thompson really up for this one tonight, and we know when he is up, when everything comes together, he is as fast as anybody. We saw him win at Spa, an endurance race last year and last season, and just completely dominated. So he has got that potential to do that. So watch out for that number 75 Audi of Josh Thompson.
Yeah, he is one to watch, that is for sure, and he has got plenty going on. We've got cars around. That's Tim Perry. Oh, there's contact. Oh no, what on earth happened there? I think David Valls has got involved in that in there as well. We're staying green flag still, but yeah, Tim Perry was one of those facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, you're right, he was. You're right. I wonder if I think Adam Hedgecock was involved in that too, in the Ferrari. So not
that
a good
BMW
start.
is not getting back to the pit.
No, it's, well, there was a very open goal of a pun there, and I'm not going to take it. So, in fact, no, it wasn't. It was Tim Perry, you're right, who's Adam Hedgecock has got through that little exchange in his altitude Ferrari. So let's go look what happened then, through towards the cutting. Again, just a sort of half-hearted move, and the problem is it's so narrow through there that, yeah, and blind, of course, as well, that it often does cause a multi-car pileup. But at the front, no such problem. We've got a proper heavyweight battle to get our teeth into over the next hour and 40 minutes. I love these World GT endurance races. Proper thinking, strategical battles. Cedric, Vasquez, Iglesias, McFarlane, Prada, Anderuti, Davidson, they're all in the championship fight, and they're all up at the front. Brilliant.
Do you think that Simon Feigl from Altus Esports has been giving Vasquez and Iglesias a little bit of the inside line around this track, because he is one who knows this track very well, is Simon, and the team boss there at Altus Esports? He could have a real say in how these drivers get on today.
I think no doubt about it, that's going to help. And just the way that you set up a car for Bathurst is so important, because you've got two completely different sections. The mountain straight, it's all horsepower and low drag, likewise down Conroad. But then over the mountain, well, you want a car that's, well, the perfect example of Fabio Inverdrus there on board. You want a car that's stable, and if you've got a car that's nervous, you are going to end up in the fence. So getting that setup just right, I would think that's where Altus will have a really good setup for the car. And that was a tiny error for Inverdrus, and it had race-ending consequences.
How fortunate that it just...
Unbelievable.
Nobody else got involved in that, and Fabio knew immediately, look, get out to the left-hand side, keep the inside clear so that nobody else comes piling in there. Fabio is out of the race. He's left the session here, so he won't be returning into the track, but it was just running over that curb, and you'll look at it from James Armstrong's point of view and you'll see just that little bit of a different line up over the curb. It unsettles the car, and Armstrong, it was an Audi's width of car through the inside there.
That was very well avoided by James Armstrong, and luckily he had the room behind him where nobody ran into the back of him as well. Really good avoidance there as well. The car that I'm really intrigued to see how they go today is Leandro Andretti, car 98, the privateer, don't forget, leading the championship by just 2 points from Alex Davison. He is in that leading pack, and this is what he did at Watkins Glen. He didn't really come to the front until the end of the race, but he stayed in that leading group, so he kept the leader in sight, but he did it whilst using a lot less fuel. This Porsche, you can really use the fuel saving and carry the momentum in. It's very good under braking, so you can carry the slipstream from the car in front and brake super late as well. So watch out for Leandro Andretti. That car is painted black for a reason. It's a stealth car.
It certainly is. The problem though around here is if you get stuck behind somebody that you know you are quicker than, up over the top of the mountain where there isn't really any overtaking opportunity, you can lose touch with that lead group, can't you? And it can really disadvantage your strategy play through this race.
That is absolutely true. However, I think that this top six group are so evenly matched on pace. There's a mixture of machinery. There's Audis in here, there's Ferraris, there's a sole Porsche as well. So I think it's going to be very tight in terms of who's got the outright pace. Some of the lap times already, despite the pretty high track temperature, 2:03.0 last time by from Aaron Vazquez. That's seriously quick in these track temperature conditions.
I'm going to have to work on my pronunciation of Aaron's name because you do it so much better.
A hard R, yeah. You got to roll the R, which is actually what Scottish people do as well. So
yeah. As you say, we have got that lead group, and Jack Sedgwick is just loitering. Oh, we've got a move to the inside there, but not a move being taken though. But I think Sedgwick is creating that hole in the air for the two cars behind, and I think Vasquez was just thinking, I'm actually a little bit faster here. Do I make the move? And he half looked into the chase, but no move being made. But I do feel that Sedgwick is forging a path up at the front there, and a 2:03.9 last lap. Tristan Iglesias 2:03.7, 2:03.2 from Ross McFarlane. McFarlane has just brought that gap back down again to the front three.
Yep, he has. Yeah, he's pushing, and actually McFarlane just dragging away from Lucas Prada a little bit, who's sort of the sort of bridge in the middle of this group. Meanwhile, Andretti just hanging on to the back of the draft of Lucas Prada. The one thing the Porsche doesn't have is the straight line speed, and that's where it really is weaker. So the tow will be helping Andretti quite a lot in this situation. But for Davidson, as long as he feels like it's still the leading group, he's in an ideal spot as well to really soft pedal it, because that Ferrari's got a lot of pace. It was a very popular car for the iRacing 12 Hours of Bathurst a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it certainly was indeed, and yeah, this Audi just seems to really be hooked up at the moment for quite a number of these drivers, so they're really enjoying it. Just to keep you abreast of everything going on in this race, your top Pro-Am, James Buemi, hasn't lost a place but hasn't gained a place either. He's in 9th place, just ahead of Josh Thompson, who's in 10th. Ethan Critchlow is the second best Pro-Am. He is just ahead of Claassens. We have got a couple of yellow flags out there on track. One down at the chase, I think number 33. Oh, we got a big incident! That is a big one.
Pile-up. That is a big one. It does clear though, so they all get through. But yeah, several cars involved. There's a BMW looking for a spot to turn around, and I mean that's one way of. Oh, another one happening in the background. Another one at the cutting. It's a complete pile-up at the cutting, and several cars struggling to get around. There's a full-on Austin Powers reversing skills.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Century Sim Racing reverse party here.
Oh,
dear.
Careful now. We've got a boosted car trying to... Oh, look ahead, guys, please. You can do it. Well, there was a number of... Oh, and that car's, toast. That is broken. And they'll be heading back to pit road. Number 12, that is Jordan Johnson. He must have been involved in that, along with Hunter McDaniel as well. So they head for the relative safety of pit road. And whilst all of that was going on, Peter, the two leaders are now the Altus Esports drivers.
Yeah, so Aaron Vazquez goes to the front then and leads by 7/10 of a second at the moment from his teammate, who's got Cedric right behind. It was just a small... Oh, unlucky. So unlucky for that BMW there. They just had nowhere to go and they all just pile in on top.
The problem with Forest Elbow is that you come around that corner and you are blind, and it might look like that people just aren't sort of paying attention, just driving into this, but you literally just come around that corner and all of a sudden you're faced with a face full of car.
And if you can imagine, you're falling down the fastest helter-skelter you've ever been on, and you're trying to scrub off speed to make the apex of that corner, so you're really on the edge of grip at that point. So if you throw a car across the road into the equation, that makes life a lot harder, excuse me.
Well, that did all sort itself out eventually, and we were able to stay green flag racing. So that is one positive out of it. But yeah, there's been a number of drivers get involved in incidents. As I say, McDaniel, Jordan Johnson, Sophia Ridpath, I think was that BMW who got caught up in that, just came around and T-boned. Jack Osborne was involved. Jonathan Walker's had an incident in this race. He was caught up in all of that. Paul Crawford has been in pit road for a little while, actually, I'm just seeing. So he's had an issue out there on track, as well as has David Wiles. And Lee Berridge also on pit road for a little while as well. So there's been a number of incidents. Ashley Finch now coming onto pit road as well. So he's obviously getting some damage fixed. So let's try and sort ourselves out as down the inside. Nicely done there into Quarry Corner. And the Altitude Esports car losing out to not one, but 2 places in that move. And so that was 11th place for James Boehme, and that was Josh Thompson and Locatello moving forward. Here's Ashley Finch's car. It already looks like it's in a used state, shall we say.
Yes, that's an MOT failure, that car, unfortunately. Tell you what, Josh Thompson is on just such a tear at the moment in that number 75 Team Redline car, up into 9th position. If he can get past Locatello, might be able to catch the leading pack and really bring himself into the fight for the win here as well, as there's not really a great deal of steering ability left in that car either. High rate of attrition so far. Big shame for Sophia Ridpath, who'd qualified so well and is fighting for the AM Class Championship. And the good thing is that our drivers do have a fast repair. So yes, they'll have used it up, but they can use it and get back into action. As Ben Gregory has it, a typical McPhillamy Park half spin and plants it into the wall.
We saw a big incident up there in the Bathurst 12 hours, didn't we? One of the, I believe it was one of the Porsches, wasn't it? Ended up heavily into the wall up there, brought out a safety car in that 12 hours. I was about to say, before we had all those replays, that Anderuti had actually lost ground on Davidson, because Davidson had actually made it past and moved past Prada as well. But the lead trio are just holding everybody up, it seems, in that lead group, and everybody's just playing that waiting game of fuel saving right now.
Yeah, I think at Bathurst it's really important to hit your fuel number. You've got to make sure you know exactly what that fuel number is and hit it every lap. And there's bits and places in the circuit where you can get your lifting and coasting done to hit that number that you need. But the move that Aaron Vazquez took on Jack Cedric, he went around the outside at the chicane at the chase and got the move done. It's the very jazzy team wear of DCW Racing, Paddy Faulkner, sporting them very nice with the matching custom-made 3M gloves as well, double points.
Yep, and just in case you don't know where the pits are, they are to the right of Paddy Faulkner's head, by the looks of things on that back wall. But yeah, very nice teamwear that the DCW Racing team have out there with those, as we say, 3M gloves. Long-time sponsor of the series, 3M, and do check out their website if you are interested in getting yourself some kit for going racing, karting, or full, tin top or open wheel racing. You name it, they can do it for you.
They supply Alberto Battistoli, front runner in the European Rally Championship as well. He's got his custom made 3M overalls, comfort and safety all in one. So Josh Thompson, has he made that move on Locatello? Yes, he has. So Thompson has freed himself from that second group. Now he's got clear air between himself and the leading bunch, who aren't, I think it would be fair to say, Paul, aren't at full push at this stage. So if Josh in the next 10 minutes or so can really push on, he can get himself in that leading group.
He could well do so, indeed.
He's having a good drive.
Yeah, he's certainly trying. He will not have been happy with his qualifying whatsoever, but that's now 6 places gained from where he started for Josh Thompson. So he'll be delighted with that. I realised that I didn't actually get all the way through all the different people. The top am at the moment, looking at my timing screen, is actually Andy Archer in 20th place. The next best am is Sarah Raab in 23rd, with Jens and Adriansen's just a couple of places back in 25th. So the am's in and around that top 20, top 20-25 mark, about halfway in the field. So not doing themselves any harm being in there. They're doing a good job.
They're doing a super job, absolutely. And of course, Andy Archer's had a great. He's had a great start to the season. He's leading the AM Championship by 53 points after 3 rounds, so he's in a really good spot. Oh, massive moment there for Locatello. We got a perfect view of that from James Armstrong. That Lamborghini was breaking away. If that looked inconsequential, I can assure you that would have required a big old steering input there from Locatello. Well held, but that's just held them up a fraction, and Thompson, he's gone.
A big steering input and a big change of underpants will probably be needed as well after that moment, because all you'd see is just wall, and you think the worst. Look at how strong that slipstream is then. Audi versus Lamborghini, and Armstrong to the inside at the chase, makes his way through, and nicely done there. And Locatello, I don't think was fighting that one. I think, do you know what? You've got the slipstream on me. You go ahead, mate.
I don't think he had a great deal of choice in the matter. That was a really nicely set up move from James Armstrong. As, a little bit of, I would say, formation flying there from Altus Esports. Iglesias goes past Vasquez with seeming ease, and that's, I think, very much a team tactic. Why would they do that? Well, basically, it's so that they can both hit their fuel number. If there's one driver doing all of the work out front, they're using too much fuel. If you can afford, and if you're able to coordinate that, it's a very difficult thing to do. If you're able to coordinate that, then you can get both cars on a good fuel strategy and maintain that track position. What a nice position to be in.
It's all right, isn't it? I mean, it is all about hitting your fuel number around here, but also being quick with it as well. You've got to have a certain pace about it, because you have got to be on it. You have got to be on it up over the mountain, because if you relax and back off, you're not approaching corners at the same rate that you normally do, which means that your braking point is a bit different, and then all of a sudden your line becomes different if you back off at all. You have got to be fully committed through the mountain section of the circuit, because those walls, they are completely unforgiving, and you are working within millimetres of those walls as well.
You are, yeah, and to be quick, you're right, that's exactly what we have to do. We've got a bit of a break from that leading bunch, from Iglesias down to Davidson, very closely bunched together. Then got over a second back out of the draft for Lucas Prada, who in turn is actually stretching from Andrew Ruti. Andrew Ruti struggling to hold on to the back of Prada now. So Anderuti maybe not quite got the pace to be able to hold on to this lead group. But already you can see on the right-hand side of the Inex Ferrari of Jack Shedrick, there's a little bit of battle scars as well. Now, most Bathurst 12-hour winning cars usually have a little bit of battle scar on them as well, such as how close the cars get to the wall. So interesting that there's been a little bit of a brush so far, as well as the 3M Ferrari. I think that's Johnny Walker. Yes, it is. They'll have to get through here. Hopefully. And do you know what? I think they might catch him on the mountain, you know.
And that'll be the worst possible scenario for them up on the mountain. I've just seen yellow flags down for the 888 of Aaron Rose. So something's happened to him down at the chase. We'll see if there's anything consequential about that. We'll bring that to you. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Lap traffic. But now, Jonathan Walker is one of those cars who's got involved in issues throughout this race in the early going, so he's out there after taking repairs, and they might just hit lucky, you know, because Jonathan's just far enough ahead that I think that they'll possibly get him at the chase or down the Conrod Straight. Here's what happened down at the chase, and 2 into 1, and that's Aaron Rose gets up over the end. Was that Sarah Raab as well involved in that? I think it was, because, down a few positions for the AM driver with that contact from Aaron Rose.
Oh, that's, do you know, I almost, and indeed Johnny Walker is able to be passed as they go down Conrod. That was a good stroke of fortune for the leaders. But, goodness me, I didn't want to say it because I thought this is going really well for Sarah. She's just had no luck at all in virtually her entire World GT career, it seems. And then I thought, this is going really well. I'm not going to say it though. And then, just something like that gets rear-ended, and it's she's on the back foot once again. Can we start a crowdfunding and buy her some luck? Can you do that?
Well, if you can buy luck, I would be a poor man right now, because with my racing, I need as much luck as I can possibly get. We've got the battle for second place in Pro-Am. Ethan Critchley then, who's 12th place overall. He's got Christoph Grekus behind, who's a pro driver in that Brabham Esports car. And then he's got Justin Clarsons and Daniel Sedgley, both Pro-Am drivers. It'd be good if I put my teeth in today, I tell you. Those two, right behind Christoph right now, they're not able to get at Ethan. And I think if you're Ethan Critchley, you're happy that you've got a bit of a barrier between you and your other competitors. Oh,
yes, you definitely will be. So, yeah, good race yet again for Ethan Critchley. He sits third in the Pro-Am standings at the moment. Sedgley leading that championship at this stage. As they ride on board. Tell you what, he's getting through that toilet roll in the background. That's good. That's good. He's been putting it to good use. Excellent.
Yeah, obviously he must have a lingering cold or something, but
it's going around at the moment.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, it certainly has been. As we go, you can see that elevation. I mean, the steepest part is this right here, the dipper. It is the steepest. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, but I'm sure it is the steepest section of racetrack anywhere in the world. Is that in terms of a circuit venue?
The only two I could think, and I honestly don't know, I'll admit, I don't know the number. The only two I can think of would be the Corkscrew at Laguna Seca and Duffus Dip at Knockhill. But I think you're right. I think it probably tops both of those. If you can hear typing in the background, that's all on Google trying to figure it out. I'd be surprised if the steepness of Duffus Dip is on Google, but there's a change for position there. The Brabham Esports car going through, and Anderuti's in the pit lane after 20 minutes of racing. Anderuti has come down pit road, so this is an interesting strategy call. He won at Watkins Glen on strategy and fuel mileage. Can he do the same here again? He certainly doesn't have the pace of the front runners today, but let's see what tricks he can pull in that Porsche.
Yeah, certainly. It's an interesting strategy change. Now, we have seen others do these sorts of alternate strategies in the past, and And in some cases, it actually has panned out for drivers and for cars. And, you know, if it gets you a little bit of space where you can maybe get a little bit of clean air, that you can maybe just concentrate on your own and just get lap times that you know that you can get it, and then surely then that could be a positive for you. But yeah, definitely interesting strategic call from Andaluti. 18.6 seconds in the box. So Leandro comes out in 21st, just behind Andy Archer. So hasn't come out in clean space there for Leandro.
No, he hasn't. It'll be interesting to see if anybody reacts to that, because remember, the drivers will be well aware of what Andy Rutti did at Watkins Glen with his strategy. So let's see how that one plays out. I mean, at the moment, the two Altus cars leading the way, Iglesias from Bathurst, they're looking very, very good. It's been a great day at the office for Jack Sedgwick. Puts the car on pole, and I mean, a pole lap at Bathurst, you've got to be a serious driver to get that pole lap, because you are having to put everything on the line to get that ultimate lap time.
You certainly are. You know what? I have found it in the past, and I can't find the info again. I did used to know, or I know the location of what the actual slope on the dipper is, because it was something ridiculous. It was something like 1 in 4, 1 in 5. You know, it is an extremely steep section of circuit. So yeah, I can't find that information, and if somebody does know and can find out what is the steepest section of race circuit, not a hill climb, not a rally special stage, nothing like that. I'm talking about a race circuit that is currently being used, then do let us know in the YouTube chat, please. Well, we have got some people supporting DCW Platinum Racing Team as well, so thank you very much for joining us and commenting along with this intriguing race. It's a slow burner, is this one, I feel, as Aaron Rose comes onto pit road now.
Yeah, but it will be a real intriguing battle, that's for sure. I mean, Watkins Glen was very much that way, where and actually in a way quite similar circuit, because you had quite long throttle periods as well, that big long drag up towards out of the S's and up towards the outer loop. That gave real interesting battles in terms of position, but also in the amount of fuel used as well, and trying to figure out what strategy the drivers are going to use. You know, Altus Esports, they've got two cars here. Do they split them, Paul? Do they split them, or do they keep them together? Do you put two bets on, or do you go all in on one strategy? That's the question.
I think if you've got two together, you try and go with the same strategy and support each other, especially if you like the situation that they're in right now. They are together out there on track, then certainly that does work to your benefit. Justin Clarson's now has lost a place to Sedgley, so Daniel Sedgley is in fact, yes, he has lost a place to Sedgley, because he's down to 14th place is Clarson's, 13th for Sedgley, and Ethan Critchley has been passed by Caracas, so that means that he doesn't have that pro driver separating him from the rest of the Pro-Am drivers that were in that little gaggle of cars about 5-10 minutes ago. So Audi, BMW, Lamborghini. It's good to see that this balance of performance is working relatively well here around this venue today.
Yes, it is, absolutely. Very good indeed. There's no one car that's particularly dominant over another, and I wouldn't say there's one that's really struggling either. I think it's down to the quality of the driver. Really good to watch. And I think one thing that Ethan Critchley does have, although he doesn't have that rear gunner of a pro car behind him, he does have the pro car to get a tow from, and he's trying to hang on to the back of Caracas at the moment and try and drag along with him. And that's going to really force Sedgley behind him to push as well, our Pro-Am championship leader.
Now, just looking, I've got my track map up on one of my screens here. It's like mission control here with the amount of screens that I have to view this race at. And I can see
we have left up.
Aaron Rose, who's the next one that will be lapped, is just gone over the start and finish line now, whereas your leaders are coming through the chase. So give it, about 10 laps, and they'll be with Aaron. He's just done in fact, he's just finished an out lap, so that's why it was a 2 minute 45 lap for him. But he's down there, and he'll be slowly getting caught up by those leaders, and there is quite a few cars in front of Aaron as well. There's a good 5 or 6 cars within relatively short distance between them, and it's traffic like that where you can maybe get past one up, say, Mountain Straight or down, oh dear, Daniel Nolts. That's not how you take the exit of the cutting. But if you catch up a series of cars through the top of the mountain when you're lapping them, that is a worst case scenario, I feel, for those drivers in the lead.
It is, yeah, for certain. Daniel Sedgley's got past Ethan Critchley, got the move done, going down into the chase. So there's a change in Pro-Am. So Sedgley up into second place in Pro-Am. So Sedgley looks like he's got some really good pace on that BMW. BMW reputation for being quite a stable car, which, to be honest, here at Bathurst, especially over this mountain section, is an ideal attribute to have as you're coming through here, up through Sullivan Park and McPhillamy Park, and the car's wiggling around, but you can't afford to lift off. You've got to keep your foot in it with going through here as well. And then it's almost flat but not quite, and then through McPhillamy Park towards Skyline. It's a proper roller coaster ride. It's a proper driver's challenge. And just look there, a couple of car lengths essentially pulled out of Critchley on that section.
Yeah, it's a slightly longer wheelbase, isn't it, for the BMW? Much like the Mercedes. Yeah. So
front engine too.
Yeah, so a little bit more stability, whereas the Audi and the Lamborghini mid-engine, shorter wheelbase, it makes it a little bit more twitchy. We saw with Unverdross how twitchy it can get up over the curbs, especially on the Skyline, so in the S's. So, yeah, those drivers are going to be on edge.
And the capacity is over 50% more as well. You've got a 3-litre straight 6 turbocharged engine in the front of the BMW, and the McLaren, the Lamborghini and the Audi, you've got a 5.2-litre V10, so it's a heavy engine in the middle of the car, so that when that weight transfer kicks in, it's it can get away from the driver. But through technical sections where you want really good change of direction, it gets a brilliant car. So yeah, it comes and goes, but Sedgley driving very, very well on that BMW just now.
As we climb up Mountain Straight once again, you are watching the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay in the commentary box here for you today. And with 1 hour and 11 minutes remaining, it is Tristan Iglesias who currently leads this race for Altus Esports, with his teammate Aaron Vasquez in second place. Jack Sedgwick, the Inex Racing driver, in third, with Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson loitering with intent in fourth and fifth place. There's a little bit of a gap then back to Lucas Prada, and then we've got Josh Thompson heading up a quartet of cars. Him, James Armstrong, Locatello, and also Buemi, the top Pro-Am driver. 10th place for Buemi right now, doing a good job in that Pro-Am car. Sedgley, that we saw, made it up into second place in Pro-Am, 12th overall, ahead of Ethan Critchley. Your top Am is still Andy Archer, 21st place, ahead of Jensen Adriansson, who's 23rd, and Sarah Raab's actually made a place back into 24th. The top leading driver, the one from the top 10 that did make a scheduled pit stop, Leandro Andaruti, championship leader, currently 19th, but has now got a bit of a gap actually in front of him. Now, is that what he was initially intending to get here in this with this early pit stop?
I think so. I think now that he sees a 12-second gap in front of him. I think Andretti will now sort of settle into his rhythm, and we'll see. It's very hard to tell whether he's taking his long stop now or whether his short one. That will only really become clear when the rest of the cars come in for their pit stops. They've been running for 36 minutes at the moment, so they'll be getting towards the end of their opening stint. I would imagine about 40 minutes will be the stint length.
Just noticed Jim Whitehouse has pulled up at the side of the track, and we've got some side-by-side action into Hell Corner, and up over the grass they go. Fortunately for these drivers, it's not absolutely sodden like it was for the Bathurst 1000. Of course, it was awful conditions, wasn't it, for the great race? But they thankfully have dry conditions. But yeah, Jim Whitehouse was stopped for a while and has taken a tour back to pit road, so something's happened to the Century Sim Esports driver. Adam Tompkins and Magic Sekovic are onto pit road for their first pit stop. So with a fuel limited car of 75% fuel capacity, we are looking at about 40-45 minutes, aren't we, Peter, for if you're going a full stint of fuel on these cars?
Yeah, I would say 75% capacity, 45 minutes is what you want to look for. Again, it depends on the car. In the Bathurst 12-hour, yes, there was specific balance of performance for that event, but relatively small changes. The Mercedes actually looked to be a little bit more on the thirsty side, whereas the Porsches and sometimes the BMWs actually could run a little bit longer stints as well. So that fuel economy is important. The Porsche as well, you could drag 2 laps more on a full tank on the Porsche as well. So we'll see how it plays out with that 75% limit, how if that is enough of an advantage to get back into the fight.
Leaders head their way up the hill then. So as we've been saying, it is Iglesias who hasn't had the greatest of starts to the championship, let's be honest. He's 18th in the pro standings. He seems to have, and I said this the other day on a different broadcast, he seems to have a bad luck magnet on his car, which attracts other cars into his. And he's got involved in a few instances at the start of this championship, but looking at him up here at the front, I think it's a case of when he's at the front, he seems comfortable, doesn't he? It's when he's in that sort of pack, I think he doesn't seem quite at ease yet in this championship.
Yeah, I think he looks absolutely serene at the moment at the front of the field, despite how much of a tense ride it is here every lap at Bathurst. But yeah, Iglesias looks completely in control. The car doesn't look out of shape in any way. His teammate Aaron Vadquez right behind him. So yeah, looking very good right now. It seems like we're going to run this right to the edge of that opening stint. The full tank of the full fuel cell, 75% of the fuel tank, so the full fuel cell being used up. Who goes for the short stop first and then the long stop after, we shall see, as Josh Thompson making his way through traffic. Interestingly, he made a big charge early on, but it's kind of hit the buffers a little bit. He hasn't been able to escape from Locatello or Armstrong.
You've got a face full of Audi in front of you there from Locatello. Thompson and Armstrong going side by side into the chase.
Great move.
Oh, nicely done there on the brakes. As your leaders head onto pit road, Iglesias and Vasquez. So, Altus Esports, I wonder if they saw the traffic that they were catching up to and thought, now's the time to come in. And here comes Thompson as well.
I wonder, could this be an Audi thing as well? Because Thompson's had to push. He's not really been able to do a great deal of fuel saving, has he? And Iglesias and Vasquez, they've probably been able to do they've been doing the least amount of fuel savings than the Ferraris behind them. So this could potentially be an Audi consumption issue. This could just be how it plays out. We shall see. But both Iglesias and Vasquez come in taking tyres while the fuel goes in. And off the jacks they come. And it will be Iglesias that leads Vasquez out as they come out onto the circuit, and reasonably clean air. I would say that's not a bad little slot they found. And there's Andretti in the background. So Anderuti I would say Anderuti's maybe gathered a little bit of time off them, you know.
It does look like that way, doesn't it? Anderuti has been working out nicely for him in that Porsche.
Wow.
Did take a shorter pit stop though. Thompson's still in his pit box, by the way. It's worth pointing out. I wonder if he's got a pit lane speeding penalty coming onto pit road.
Yes, that's exactly what's happened. Because he's, I mean, it is a very tight entrance here, and you're trying to carry as much speed as you can. I think Josh Thompson has got a pit lane speeding penalty. You can't be in the box for that amount of time and put that amount of fuel in. So, oh dear, what a shame for Josh Thompson after such a good charge through the field. A really unforced error. He'll be furious with himself.
Yeah, he's just plummeting down the order here. On my timing screen. Now, I was mentioning about traffic because your leaders, Jack Sedgwick, fortunately for him, actually was able to get ahead of two of those lap traffic. He's got Daniel Nolt in front of him, and look at that, we've got a Team Mad car coming off of pit road as well. Is this what the Altus drivers were avoiding? Getting stuck behind some lap traffic, because Matt Woodhouse just out the pit lane, full fuel tank on colder tyres. He's battling for position with Nolt here, but they do have to help. There's a certain element in this championship where you can't impede the leaders, but it's not expected for you to just stop. Oh, the car out of control. Who was that? It was Davidson.
Oh dear. So Alex Davison, a mistake there, coming on cold tyres coming into the cutting. Paul.
I think we've had an issue for your race leader as well. I think we'll want to keep it on a replay because Jack Sedgwick is dropping down your timing sheet right now, and you can see it on live pictures. The car pulled over to the side of the track, and that is what happened. Daniel Nolt, I think it is, who possibly has lost control of the car, and Sedgwick is out.
So this is what happens then. Your shot at the top of the screen. Daniel Nolt opens up the gap and then closes it again. Oh dear. Now
that's a miscommunication.
What you should have done there, just pull out of it and let the leaders through, because they're just going to freight train you. Daniel Nolt has shown us what not to do there, is try and run their pace, because they are just going to go faster than you. And he opened the door. Sedgwick took and then he closed it again. That's you've got to feel for Jack Sedgwick there. There's nothing he could have done there, in my opinion.
And that's
the door's been opened. He said, "Oh, thank you, great." Oh, yeah. The door shuts again.
Yeah, and look at how close it is. This is Ross McFarlane. Oh well, Ross McFarlane then finds himself at the lead of this race. Drama right at the pit, right at the pit cycle here for
Merry
a number
Christmas,
of cars.
Merry Christmas for Altus Esports, because that's cost all of the other leading drivers a handful of seconds there at least, and they all come down into pit lane the lap later. How pivotal will that be to the outcome of this motor race? Wow. Well, you said it was a slow burner. The burner's just exploded, Paul. The gas. Who poured some petrol on that burn?
Yeah, that's certainly added some fuel to fire, that is for sure. But yeah, that certainly has changed things up there at the front of your field, as we've got those pit stops going on right now. The Altus cars coming around Hell Corner here, Peter.
McFarlane's gone a lap longer than everybody of the leaders. McFarlane has gone a lap longer, so he's just gone that little bit better on fuel. We know he's one of the best in the championship at managing tyres. Seems that fuel's for that as well. I tell you what, if you want to save the price of fuel and tyres these days, yeah, you get yourself a Scotsman in the car and no problem at all.
You want how much?
What? Hold on, I'll just need to go by the bank and remortgage my house. Sorry. Hold on a second.
There's your race leader, Ross McFarlane. The problem for him, though, is that as long as he's going now, he's going what? So that Vasquez and Iglesias, they're on their third lap out the pits, aren't they? Right now. So McFarlane's going to be at least 3 laps longer on fuel compared to those two. you would imagine that he's going to take a full fuel tank at this pit stop and go for his really short pit stop at the next one. Here he comes onto pit road then for the Pure Sims Esports driver. 4-time champion, don't forget, Ross McFarlane. But I tell you what, for me, that is the 200 IQ move from Altus Esports. See a lot of traffic in front of you at the start of a potential pit cycle. Head onto pit lane early.
Well, that's where whoever's in the team room working as their spotter and working as their strategist is done their job. That's for sure, because they found a gap to get them out into clean air and to deploy that speed. Because clearly these two cars have speed, Vasquez and Iglesias. They just need the space, the room to roam to do it, I think. And the last thing they want to do is tow around their opponents as well. However, who's that working behind them? That is Lucas Prada. Now, how long did he... Now, he took quite a short stop, did Prada. 16.5 seconds of fuel.
As has Ross McFarlane. So, short pit stop.
What are they up
McFarlane.
to?
No tyres taken for McFarlane either. So, it was definitely a short pit stop. So, they're going to go short then long at Pure Sims Esports, because you're absolutely right, Prada was a short pit stop, as was Alex Davidson as well. So they've taken that alternate strategy. They're trying something different here.
So this is fascinating. So Anderucci took 18.3 seconds of fuel in the box. Iglesias and Vasquez took 23.9 and 24 respectively. McFarlane took 18. So Anderucci, McFarlane, Davidson and Prada, they're on quite a similar sort of fuel strategy, you could say. Vasquez and Iglesias, they're actually in the box seat here because they've got their longer stop out the way, and they're in good position. The only caveat to that is it that they had to take all that extra fuel? I mean, that's a huge amount more. 5 seconds more is huge. That's not just fuel saving. That's that's multiple laps. So let's see. But we have a motor race on here as well. We've got the very fast Altus Esports Audis, but are they too thirsty? Can they outsmart the coy and cunning of McFarlane and Pure Sims?
And we've seen McFarlane and Pure Sims pull those strategy calls so many times. You say, over the years when it's looked like Ross was not really in with a call for an endurance win here in this championship, and then it comes to the second pit stops and Ross is at the front of the field. How did that happen? Well, they knew all along what was happening in those seasons. It's been not quite that way in the opening round of the championship at Watkins Glen for Ross. But here today, he's at the front. He's where he likes to be, at the front of the field, just forging a path. I think the only downside for him is that the two Altus cars that we're riding on board with now, they've got fresh rubber on their tyres.
Yeah, that very good point, Paul. And as the track temperature continues to rise, that's only going to be more significant. I mean, we saw the track temperature at 37 degrees Celsius in qualifying. That's pretty cozy. I suspect it's gone up in over the course. If you've got that data in front of you, Paul, of where the track temperature has gone to.
45 degrees Celsius is the track temperature, so it's almost 10 degrees. It's got hotter in since qualifying, so that tells you, and it's only going to go up even more, is that track temperature as well. Now, is that a question of Pure Sims thinking we can double stint the tyres for the shorter pit stop earlier on because it is going to be cooler, so that when you take your longer pit stop for your second stop, you've then got fresh rubber for the hotter conditions?
I think it's also as well having the time to put 4 new tyres on. It maybe felt like it wasn't worth it to just put 2 on and then have the colder tyres, and maybe a balance issue. I don't know. The one thing is for sure is that Pure Sims, Ross McFarlane, they'll have done their research on it. That's for sure. I think you're right, Paul. When they put the full tank in, when they go the longer pit stop, they've got time to put four new tyres on, so they've got them for the run to the end of the race. I love World GT Endurance Championship races. In that the first stage, it all looks very calm, everyone's just sussing each other out. But in the background, there is notepads and calculators getting burned through trying to work out what is the way to get an edge on their opponents. Watch out for Prada as well. Lucas Prada's right in there behind. Yes, he's taking a slightly shorter fuel stop as well, but if he can go onto the back of the two Altus cars, don't write him off either.
And he could also make a nuisance of himself over those.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, look at the traffic that they're coming to. Now, Ross McFarlane is going to make his way past that traffic before he gets to Quarry Corner. The Altus cars, well, they're going to have to hope that those lap cars assist them in getting past, because as I say, this championship does have a different rule. There's a flash of the headlights. It's not like an official iRacing race where blue flags are advisory. In this championship, it's not that you have to pull over and basically come to a stop, not like Formula 1, but you have to help assist the leading cars coming through in being able to make a safe overtake as well. But for me, up over the top of the mountain, there isn't really any place that you can do that properly. I mean, we saw it with Jack Sedgwick.
Absolutely, it's just full of peril. Great job there by the Altitude Ferrari to give that room. That's really heads up stuff. Because, like you say, Paul, you can't just jump out the way and then go, oh, wait a minute, no, I'm not going to do it. And we saw that just go completely wrong a few laps ago. But yeah, that's what makes Bathurst such a challenge. I do recall in previous years in the Bathurst 12 Hour, the outdoor edition of that, you know, having GT4 cars in there, not many, thankfully, and it was just chaos because how there wasn't huge accidents, because it is not a multi-class racing circuit for good reason. It would just be simply unsafe.
I just remember like seeing like the KTM in the tyre wall one year at Forest Elbow, because it had just been pushed into it, and that because it was that multi-class race, as you said, there was only ever like 8 or 9, wasn't it? GT4s.
Maximum,
it wasn't many.
Which made it worse almost, because you weren't like at the Nürburgring, you're coming across them all the time through once the race gets going. But if you're just coming across them every hour or so, you're like, oh damn, I've got to get past this poor little GT4 car who's absolutely on the limit, and usually not with. It's not as if they pack the GT4 cars full of pro drivers either. That's the problem, is you've not got the top driver in them either. So it's really perilous. It's I'm glad we have just a straight GT3 class.
That's what I recall. Will Tregurtha was in that KTM one year.
Yes. Now, if I may, Paul, there's several drivers that and none of them are in the top group, who have taken quite long pit stops in that first set of stops. And this isn't all of them. Ethan Critchley, Armstrong, Sedgley, and Daniel Handover, they're all over 30 seconds in the stop. I suspect that's a full tank of fuel and 4 tyres. So the 4 tyres are taking longer than the fuel fill, interestingly.
Well, I just think that the 23-24 seconds that we saw from the Altus cars was just them deciding, you know what, let's take a shorter stop and just split the 2 pit stops a bit more evenly. Yeah. The shorter stop, we're used to seeing it around that sort of 16-second mark, aren't we? When cars have taken it towards the end of a race. So that's what we're seeing from the Pure Sims cars, and Anderuti as well, and Christoph Krekas as well. You know, there's a number of mixed strategies going on out there right now. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all pans out, because I do think those that took their long pit stop now are reaping the benefits of those fresher tyres. Having said that, Ross McFarlane has just pulled away even more at the front of the field, but I think that's assisted by lap traffic.
He did a 203.4 last time by a 203.8 and a 203.7 for the Altus Audis. And indeed, Prada, I think you're right, it was traffic, Paul. Very good call, because Prada's pulled into the back of them. Lucas Prada and the Pure Sims Mercedes is right in there too. And remember how good Pure Sims were with that Mercedes last season, so they've got good setup data for that car, and they're right in there behind the Altus Audis. Now, the leading driver who took that, maximum stop length at the first stops was James Armstrong. So keep an eye out on that number 62 Brabham Esports Audi. He's in 9th place overall at the moment, and he's got his long stop out the way. So watch out. Could we say, now that would be a popular result, wouldn't it? A Brabham Esports car to... he could potentially be in the hunt for a podium. Also, one driver we haven't mentioned a great deal about, but fighting superbly, James Buemi, leading the Pro-Am class, 7th overall. Remarkable. And there are drivers in front of him who took shorter stops. Davidson and Anderuti were both shorter in that, and Prada also. So actually, Buemi is in a potential podium spot as well.
He's been there on pace. I mean, he qualified in 9th place, don't forget. So, you know, the Pro-Am driver of Buemi, some drivers just love this track and just really get in the flow of this track, whereas some, no matter what they do, they just cannot get into that rhythm and get the feel of this circuit. Oh, that DCW racing car just splitting the two Altus cars. Oh, I thought we were going to have an Altus contact then between the two of them. And, well, that DCW car just splitting them. He's now getting Prada down the inside into Murray's. And there we go. But I was about to point out, we have had quite a rate of attrition so far in this race. We've just got 38 cars remaining running in this race. We started with 49, and you just look at the names that are on there. Fabio Unvedra, who we've of course lost on lap number 1, Lee Berridge lap number 2, Joe Newman, Jonathan Walker, Jordan Johnson, Jim Whitehouse, Daniel Nolt, who had that incident with Jack Sedgwick. Sedgwick's out as well. Josh Thompson, Sophia Ridpath, and Jensen Adriansons. All of those drivers are out and retired from this race. Just 38 cars remaining there, which I think if you're the race leaders, you're actually thankful that there's only 38 cars out there.
Oof, yeah, well, that certainly will help with the traffic anyway, that's for certain, as we have car 64, Hunter McDaniel coming into pit lane, also Paul Crawford in the pits, so it's tight if you're right on the edge here, fueling up towards the end of the race, you know. Well, very, very tight indeed.
Don't forget that those two did have incidents at the start of this race as well.
They might.
Yeah.
They're fuel saving, they might get home. Yeah,
a bit of lifting and coasting, and they should be able to make that to the end. So yeah, McDaniel out of pit road. Crawford in his DCW racing car will be shortly leaving the pit road as well. But yeah, Ross McFarlane has pulled out now. It's a 4-second lead that he's got over Tristan Iglesias, with Aaron Vasquez trying in 3rd place. But Lucas Prada, that's the driver that we're keeping an eye on here, because that Pure Sims Mercedes, it's one of the very few Mercedes, I think in fact it's the only Mercedes out there today, doing a good job in 4th place. Look at this, Anderuti now putting Alex Davidson under pressure, and of course these two just separated by 2 points in the championship.
They are, yes, and I think Anderuti is going to, if he can run, if he can match the pace of Davidson whilst doing a bit of lifting and coasting, he can bring himself back into getting a strong result as well. And we know this is not a championship about going out and winning every race. You've just got to maximise every opportunity that you can. And we didn't think that Anderuti would have sprint race pace in the Porsche with the way the balance of performance is at the moment, but he proved us completely wrong there as well. He's been the real surprise package of the season. We saw him a couple of seasons ago in an Audi. Again, he was quick, but there was a lot of mistaking, quite controversial incidents. No such problem this season. He really has been a great. He really is putting together a great championship campaign, I have to say.
He really has appeared to have matured a little bit in his driving, and because he was, as you say, a couple of seasons ago, a little bit more wild, and as you said, getting involved in a few questionable manoeuvres between him and Luke McEwen back when Luke was in the Altus car himself. So I think Anderuti has calmed down a little bit, and maybe somebody's got in the ear and gone, look, you've got the pace. Let's work on that consistency, because you can teach consistency. Speed, though, that's a bit more of a natural thing, isn't it?
Well, also, driver environment is important as well. You know, you look at, he is one of the very few drivers in the field running as a privateer. And it could be that, it can be what environment you're comfortable in as well. And maybe he's just quite happy having the slightly more relaxed environment of running on his own. And it doesn't work for everyone, but for whatever it is, it's definitely coming together for him this season. So 44 minutes to go, and I tell you what, the two Altus cars just dropping Prada in the last few laps as well there, Paul.
Yeah, and so just getting clear of Prada. I mean, they were 2 and 3/10 quicker respectively were Iglesias and Vasquez. Anderuti, by the way, look at this, up mountain straight. It's the run out. Oh, that's very aggressive on your championship rival. The worst thing you can do is get a DNF. Yes, you have dropped scores in this series, but you want to be scoring in each and every round of this series. But nicely done in the end then by Anderuti, and I have a feeling that Davidson thought, you know what, let's just lift the throttle ever so slightly and let's not risk an incident.
Well, it all came back to a mistake at the first corner, at Hill Corner. Then Davison got it lit up over the curb and lost all the drive. Anderuti squared off the corner and got a better acceleration out of it. And yeah, through that first phase, that first half of Mountain Straight, Anderuti got it done. But you saw after that, though, that Ferrari at the top end's got some serious gallop. And I think we could well see Davidson repay the favour here, going into, or certainly having the opportunity to do, if he wishes, going down into the chase, because simply the Porsche just does not have the straight line speed. See what's got the out of corner acceleration though. Anderuti getting the power down nice and early there out of the elbow.
We've said that all along though, haven't we, with that Porsche? Just it has that pull out of the corner. Of course, it is still a rear-engined car. And so it's got the weight over those rear wheels, and it's really good out of corner, but especially low speed corners as well. Really has some good poke out of those. But it's, as you said, as Prada onto pit road, as is Ross McFarlane, your race leader. Here we go then, with 42.5 minutes remaining. This is Pure Sims now pulling the trigger on their strategy call. And if I'm correct in my thinking, and I know Peter's in agreement, they should be taking tyres at this pit stop as well, and there you go, up onto the jacks.
Yeah, so what they've both done is back-timed it to the end of the race. So this is a full fuel fill with tyres. The question will be, will the car drop off the jacks and then go, or drop off the jacks and still have fuel going in? You want the latter. You do not want to be still putting tyres on when there's no fuel going in. A mission accomplished there for McFarlane. So again, pure sim strategy, not by much though. It must be said, not by much at all. So McFarlane off into the motor race, and is he going to get a bit of clean traffic? More or less, I think that's pretty good. He's out onto the circuit as well. So has McFarlane pulled a usual strategical blinder? We've seen him not just win the previous Endurance Cup like this, Paul. We've seen him win overall championships with his endurance race results.
Yeah, and of course there's different points for the endurance races compared to your sprint and your feature rounds as well, and so therefore winning a race in the endurance rounds can be worth more than getting yourself a win or 3 wins. It works out about the same, but the problem is that it's very difficult to get 3 wins in a sprint round of the championship, whereas getting a win here in an endurance race can mean so much more for you for a championship. So these endurance races do have a lot of meaning for these drivers. McFarlane did come out ahead of Daniel Sedgley, and crucially for McFarlane stayed ahead of the Pro-Am driver. James Boehm is still your top Pro-Am in the field at the moment, in 6th place right now. Top Am is Andy Archer in 18th. So that's where those particular leaders are. But yeah, McFarlane is back up and under running on fresh tyres with a track temperature now getting up towards 47 degrees Celsius.
And of course the Altus cars, they're going to be very, very tight to be able to fit, and they might be able to put 2 new tyres on within that time frame if they wish to try and negate that disadvantage of having to run on the older tyres. Perhaps we shall see. Now, in terms of overall time spent in the box, McFarlane was exactly a second less in the box than Lucas Prada. I think that's all down to do with basically the thirst of the Mercedes and the fact that McFarlane was really in that right in the heart of that leading bunch all the way through the opening stint, so got some really good fuel saving done, and that's just brought him a little bit of an edge. It will be fascinating to see how McFarlane's pit lane time compares to his rivals in terms of the frugality. At the end of the day, the lower amount of time you can spend in that pit box, that's effectively free time.
It certainly is, and it's certainly worth you looking at the strategy of these races and thinking the long game here. But yes, you are watching this, the World GT Championship, Season 13, and we're pleasure to have you all along here. And look at the Altus cars, they're up against the DCW racing car, flashing their headlights and not happy with that DCW racing car. I think that was Paddy Faulkner, actually, but Paddy didn't. The thing is, this is where I have questions about a series where you have the rule of you've got to move out the way of or assist them in safe passing. For me, if you've got blue flags and they are advisory, it is up to the... Oh dear, that's one of the German sim racing cars. That's Marvin Lesmolman going for a bit of a ride, please. Oh, thank goodness, took a tour. I was a bit worried then for a moment. But, you know, if you've got a series where it's advisory... Oh, that's a classic mistake there at the top at Philamy Park. And then just going for a slide down the wall. You're not stopping that car. And I think did the sensible thing of taking the tour. But if you've got blue flags being advisory rather than, look, you've got to let them move past, it's less chance of a miscommunication, I feel. Because the slower car is on the line, is going to be on the line, racing line, and it's up to the faster car to get past. And I think that's where we got that little bit of confusion between Sedgwick and Daniel Nolt.
Absolutely, completely agree. I think if you leave it up to any kind of dubiety at all, that's a recipe for problems. I think it's either you either give the instruction, if there's a blue flag, just hold your just race as normal and let the faster cars race round you, or it's move over, move over at the first safe opportunity and stay there until they've gone by. You have to make it clear, in my opinion. You either have to do one or the other. Neither are wrong, neither are right, but make sure that it's very clear of what you do in that situation, because as soon as you leave it up to the choice of the driver, it becomes chaos, as we saw there.
I mean, I will also defend, if you've got it written into the rule book that, look, you've got to assist those leaders getting past as well. I think you've got to obey those, but you've also got to do it in a safe manner. And I just think it was just a genuine miscommunication between the two of them with that incident. And also, it's exacerbated here with the nature of the circuit up over the top of the... Yeah.
So Armstrong into the pit lane then, Karekes, his teammate in the Brabham Esports car. Brabham Esports got a couple of drivers fighting up the front, Karekes and Armstrong. Let's see what their strategy is going to be. We saw Armstrong, of course, taking his longer stop earlier on, and Karekes comes in, car up on the jacks.
So obviously some tyres being taken then here at this stage, and deciding that is the course that they're going to be taking throughout this particular motor race as they go through the left-hander once again, and at Sullivan Park, them at Philamy Park, and then up over well, it used to be known as Brock Skyline, of course. Did that through the Esses, plunge down through the Dipper, and then continue downhill towards Forest Elbow. Of course, I remember seeing clips of Bathurst, the 1000, and there was no concrete wall there. It was just trees down the side there, you know, and in the wet weather, you'd just see cars just spinning up the rear wheels and heading straight for a tree.
Thank goodness we don't have that anymore. Yeah, that's a scary thought, isn't it? Well, the two Altus cars, Vázquez behind Iglesias at the moment, and when are they going to blink? They took on a reasonable chunk of fuel at their first stop. Maybe not a complete full fill, but certainly more than their rivals did. So they've got that little bit of an advantage in their pocket. And how do they play it out as well? Anderuti in the pit lane in the Porsche, as is Alex Davidson. So the two championship contenders in the pits.
Both neck and neck in the championship and out on track. This is what you love to see, is two championship contenders going head to head out there, and up onto the jacks for both cars with 33 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. I just had word, by the way, that Jim Whitehouse, it was actually a hardware failure that saw him retired, so that's why he's had to retire from the race. So mechanical issues for Jim Whitehouse then, the South African, as Davidson and Anderuti are away 24 and 26 seconds respectively in the box.
Yeah, Anderuti had to take on more because they sat in the box at their first stops for pretty much the same amount of time, but Anderuti had pitted a lot earlier. So yeah, so that, what is that? Yeah, Anderuti 26.6 in the box, Davidson 23.9. Yeah, so now, but there's just 9/10 of a second between them. So Anderuti, yeah, he's still in there, and he's got his championship rival in sight. That's the main thing.
I'm just looking at the breakdown of the gaps here. Ross McFarlane, I mean, this is close. This is going to be close for him in terms of where the Altus drivers come out, because right now McFarlane, he's about 40 seconds, in fact no, a little bit quicker than that, short of the leaders. We've been seeing pit road times of around 40 seconds, 45 seconds cone to cone. Yes, you are taking a shorter route through the pit lane, of course, here at Bathurst, with it being on the inside of the final corner and the inside of Hell Corner, so you do travel a little bit less distance, but you have got to be at pit lane speed limit for the majority of that road. But it's going to be intriguing to see where Ross comes out in all of this against those two leading Altus Esports cars.
I'll tell you, Alex Davidson at the moment appears to have been the most efficient driver so far, with of the drivers who have pitted to the end of the race. Anderuti spent 44.9 seconds in the pit box, McFarlane 44.2, Prada 45.2. Get this, Alex Davidson 42.4. So Alex Davidson has been Mr. Frugal today at Bathurst. Is that going to give him a good result at the end?
Yes, enough for Scotsman light on the fuel usage.
We can solve the cost of living crisis with Scotsman fuel saving in €800,000 Ferraris.
And that's just for the car, that's not including the spares. We carry on with this race, and we've got about half an hour remaining in this one. It's just waiting now. Iglesias and Vázquez, do they come in with about 25 minutes to go, given their pit stop length, or is it going to be like under 20 minutes? Because normally with the pit stop cycle, with the way it falls, you're talking about, if you're going full stint, full fuel, then another full stint, and just doing that splash and dash at the end, you normally talk about 18 17 minutes remaining for that final pit stop if you're doing it like that. Whereas these guys, they haven't done that.
Altus in the pit lane, both of them.
Well, there we go. That answers my question. I'm completely wrong because it's half an hour to go when they decide to pit.
Well, let's see then. So that's going to be 15 laps. Oh, yeah, 15 laps is going to be for they've got to put in fuel-wise. So, yeah, about 3.3 litres per lap for these type of cars, there or thereabouts, depending on which model you're talking about. Up on the jack, so that means they're taking tyres. How many? We just don't know. Well, straight off the jacks for Vasquez, so that might have been one tyre?
One or two.
He was barely on it, two maybe, yeah. Whereas Iglesias, he appears to be going for the lot.
Yeah, he does. Here comes McFarlane across the line, and your two Altus cars are coming off of pit road. Right now, where is McFarlane? There he is in the background. He's not going to get ahead of them, but I tell you what, he's going to be close to them as they go up Mountain Straight. And look at all this traffic that those Altus cars have in front of them, and crucially, they've got one car past the car of Aaron Vasquez.
Yeah, that's crucial there for Aaron Vasquez. He's got to really get the put down now and break away, and he can be in with a hunt of this race win as well. The problem is as well, he's going to hit even more traffic as his teammate Iglesias definitely would have to come out the throttle there as well. He's on the headlight flashers. He is an Audi driver after all, and as they come through, and again, but then more traffic for Vasquez as well. But how has that traffic affected McFarlane? That's the question as well. How has the Scotsman in the Ferrari? He's been held up as well. They've all had their fair share of difficulty there.
Yeah, I mean, those Altus cars got held up earlier on in the stint, and McFarlane, he's only been able to stay ahead of Locatello, and that's for position, although Locatello does always a pit stop, but it's the two in front of McFarlane, the lap cars. That will be one of the Altus cars, that's Brian's son, I believe, that's the BMW, and the Altitude Esports Ferrari. I didn't quite catch which number it was, but yeah, I think finally Ross has made his way past, but that's lost him an absolute ton of time, has that. I mean, he's dropped back from Vasquez about a good sort of 3 seconds or so there.
Yeah, that was all about how the traffic played here as well. And in terms of pit lane time, I mean, Vasquez 44.7 seconds in total across the race. Iglesias 46.3. So it's Iglesias, it's really not, he's just been that little bit more heavy on the fuel than Vasquez has been, and that has been a vital difference in the outcome of this race. However, more traffic comes in, could bring the Altus drivers together. Now, do the Altus team let them go for this, let them have a race, and ultimately risk having McFarlane et al. Coming in for the fight for the win, or do they say, right, you work together and pull away, try and get this a 1-2 finish?
I could tell you that the man who was the Pro-Am leader, James Buemi, has been in for his final pit stop final planned pit stop of this race. So the Pro-Am leader, who was in 5th place, has dropped down a little bit, but of course there are a number of cars still owe us a second pit stop. The driver at the front of the field right now, James Armstrong, well, we know that he's going for a full stint here, and we don't expect him to be on pit road for another 6 or 7 minutes here, so we'll have to be patient and wait and see where James pans out in all of this. I know for a fact that he won't end up in the lead of this one, but he'll maybe move up a spot or two in this race.
I think the main thing is if he's got clean air to use. That's the main thing. Get some clean air and lap. His pace last time by, he was a 204.3, which isn't going to be, well, at the start of the race that wouldn't have been quick enough, but as we are at the moment, the track temperature is sending the lap times through the roof. Nobody's done a 203 in the last handful of laps, and that is all to do with the oh my goodness me.
That was David Walls, and also Marvin Lesmolman has stopped out on track, and Locatello has stopped out on track as well. he's had an issue. Locatello, of course, was racing against Ross McFarlane. So has he tried to make a move on Ross, or I don't know, or has he done it all himself? Well, let's have a look at what happened to David Vals then. I clipped that inside curb. It's such a high curb, is that one, that you're always going to have your car go around there. Here's what's happened to Locatello into the chase, and just carries a little bit too much speed through there. Oh! Surely you should have driven forward rather than versing across the racing line.
I think moving at all, I think staying still was the order of the day there. But anyway, so bit busy in pit lane as well. Klassen, Sedgley, Locatello, Tom Brown, all in the pit lane taking service at the moment. But indeed, James Armstrong pushes on. Now, if he had a full fuel cell, he's got potentially 22 laps of fuel at the most. He's done 17 laps so far, so he could go really deep into this race in that Brabham Audi. And if that means clean air, that's a good thing.
I mean, I'm looking at my track map, and he's not actually got that much traffic in front of him right now.
Yeah, keep pushing. And his pace is within a couple of tenths of the Alpes cars, so his pace actually is really good. It wouldn't have been 20 minutes ago, but the track temperature is such, and that is a great demonstration, folks, of the sky-high track temperature and just how it kills lap time. Just takes the grip away.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. I mean, this circuit is brutal when it gets really hot track temperature. Now, Anderuti and Davidson, they still cannot be separated out there on track. They're currently 5th and 6th place. Only one driver in front of them of Armstrong yet to pit. So these two duking it out. Of course, as we said earlier, championship rivals. Anderuti with a 2-point lead coming into this round of the championship.
Oh, huge lunge there for Anderuti, and you know he's got it done using the braking of the Porsche. No, he hasn't. Here comes Davidson. Well, they've been battling away the last 2 laps, because Davidson was a 2:06 last time by, 2:05.8 for Anderuti. That's way off what the pace they can do. But Anderuti has to give best again. But whoa, that was a proper late dummy move there, Paul. Sorry to jump across it. Just caught me by surprise.
Was it a late dummy move by plan, or was it, I've missed my braking slightly, I'm just going to send it?
Do you know, I think it was a bad plan, actually, so I should try again. Anderuti's trying everything here to put Davidson under the cosh.
Under the cosh, or under his front wheel, it looks like at the moment. Anderuti, we were talking about his maturity and how he's calmed down a lot. Well, he's not showing that right now. He's going for everything here with his championship rival. Just think, though, Anderuti, championship points are in a really good position right now. And what's more, you've got drop scores. If you end up with a 0 as a drop score, that's actually usually not that good for you.
I just think he's the sort of driver where none of that's in his mind right now. He sees his top championship rival ahead of him. You know, Anderuti leads by just 2 points from Davidson. If they finish this way, I think that would put them equal, actually, on points. So, I mean, what a thriller we're getting here. These endurance races always deliver here in the World GT Championship. But look at the straight line speed of that Ferrari, just pulling away from the Porsche. However, as we saw, the Porsche is so good on the brakes. That's one thing where it is unrivaled on the brakes. As Iglesias' switch of positions goes past Vázquez. Now, Vázquez is third in the championship, 48 points behind the leader. As you mentioned earlier, Paul, Iglesias is nowhere in the championship fight. That's an interesting decision there, because that was not a contested track position. That didn't look like it anyway.
Is that a decision by the team, or is that a decision by Tristan?
Do you know, it didn't look like Vázquez defended it very hard, and if we put it that way, is look at that Anderuti getting on the power so early out of hell corner. He's right there under the rear wing of this Ferrari 488 GT3, and he cannot pull a millimetre on that car. But Davidson clearly under pressure, covering the inside line. Here goes Anderuti. Oh, squeezes to the edge as well, and that's putting Anderuti right out on the marbles, and through goes Prada. That was a hiding to nothing there.
Yeah, you're always asking for trouble trying to go around the outside of Quarry Corner. It's so dirty. The marbles there just really draw you in towards that concrete wall. And I wonder if something's happened that we've not seen on screen between the two of them. And it's just got Leandro maybe just a little bit flustered and see a little bit of the red mist descend. And well, I mean, I've seen drivers in the past when the red mist descends, it usually doesn't end well for them.
Yeah, I think there's the feeling that Androtti's having to really overdrive because that was complete hiding to nothing. And Davidson played that one perfectly. He knew he had the straight line speed of in his car to be able to defend, but also if he held that inside line, there was no way that Andretti could go around the outside because it is so off camber there that it's like there's magnets in the wall there. It just drags you out, and it was easy pickings for Lucas Prada, who of course, don't forget, is the teammate of Alex Davison. So I'm sure Lucas Prada will make this extra difficult for Andretti to try and repass. But look at that, the Porsche just does not have the straight line speed to compete there. However, it certainly has the braking performance.
I just know for a fact that if team boss Ash Sutton is watching this right now, he'll have seen Lucas Prada go past and he'll have said, "Good lad." That's just exactly what he'll have said, because he knows it helps Alex just to protect Alex from a very irate.
Look at that big lunge there from Andretti. Oh, he's having to really pull back. He's got no other play in the book, really. He doesn't have the straight line speed to compete, so in the braking zones, that is his only attribute. If this were a game of top trumps and you pulled the Porsche 911 GT3R, you would say braking X number of meters per second, whereas if you were in that Ferrari, you'd go top speed.
Yeah,
Trumps, kids, was a card game with cars on it.
And kids, if you're wondering what cards are, they're little bits of dead tree that were things
there it was.
So that is maybe what's got Prada Andretti just that little bit flustered between the two of them. And that's where the following corner he's trying to signal his intention there. There's the mistake from Davidson on Hell Corners. This is a few laps before we actually then started watching these two with intent. And I think our producer Hugo is quite right in what he's told us in our production chat here. Maybe just Andretti getting frustrated, and there's a mistake. Prada is overtaken by Andretti.
That is a Matt Campbell 2019 move. Matt Campbell on Jake Dennis there as well. And that is a move at the cutting. It's very difficult to pull it off there. Let's ride with Andretti. Oh, that is honestly... No. Oh dear, it's not quite a carbon copy actually, no. But look it up after this race, folks. Matt Campbell, Bathurst 12 hour 2019. In comes Armstrong from the lead. That move can be done, believe it or not. And Matt Campbell pulled it off there a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Why use subtlety when you can use a sledgehammer? And that's the approach that Leandro Andretti has just used there to get past. And I think getting caught out by the braking performance of that big lumbering Mercedes. We'll give him a benefit of a doubt with that one. But that was a little clumsy, shall we say.
Well, I would not want to be in charge of adjudicating that. You can be sure that there'll be discourse about that in after the race, and of course, do not underestimate the fact that that was a Pure Sims car involved, and of course, it's Davidson driving for Pure Sims as well. So do not underestimate that extra little bit of spice to that decision-making process. But one thing you can't criticise Andretti for is having a go here. He clearly doesn't have the car performance to be able to really, fight in certain areas of the circuit. In certain parts of the circuit, he absolutely can. Braking zones, very clearly, he has an edge. But in the straight line, really struggling as well. Huge traffic to worry about here as well. He's got to try and find his way through. Great job from the BMW there. I think that Sedgley making way there for the pro cars to come through. Great stuff there. But can Andretti catch Davidson? It's a big ask. 2.7 seconds now is the gap. 15 minutes to go.
I think it was David Valls who jumped out the way there, and to be fair, that is one spot on the mountain where you can just sort of jump out the way. You take the slowdown penalty because you're slowing down as well, so you're no problem serving that slowdown penalty. But yeah, that lap traffic then coming into play here. Davidson's about 2 seconds in front of these two right now, and was being able to pull through traffic. Your leaders, by the way, Tristan Iglesias and Alan Vasquez, currently first and second place. They've got about 4.5 seconds over Ross McFarlane in third. And then we're seeing this race right now on the screen. Alex Davidson, fourth place, ahead of Leandro Andaruti and Lucas Prada for 5th and 6th places. James Armstrong has come out the pit lane in 7th place after his final pit stop of the race. Your top Pro-Am driver, James Boemi, 8th place. What a drive from James to be able to get himself into 8th place. That's a gain of 1 place from where he started. Your next best Pro-Am is Justin Clarson's. Again, a good performance from Justin. 10th place for him, ahead of Daniel Sedgley in 11th and Ethan Critchley, who's just pitted as well, in 12th place. Adam Tompkins, sorry, I noticed was stopped out on track and has taken a tour back to pit lane. So I think he's the latest victim of the mountain. He's had issues. Your top Am is actually Sarah Raab in 17th place. So Sarah, who got involved in an incident at the chase earlier on, is now back into 17th place. A gain of 13 places for Sarah. So really taking advantage of this rate of attrition. Your next best Am is Andy Archer in 20th place, who's loitered all the way around that spot as Andy. And we've got James Armstrong is stopped out on track, and that is a backwards facing not Mercedes. Audi, yeah.
Century Sim Racing, car 91.
The 91 is Jack Osborne.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So Armstrong not long come out the pits, and a little bit of a mistake there for Osborne, lost the rear, and James Armstrong didn't really have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Bathurst. That is Bathurst. It is a cruel, cruel place. Winning here is special because to have the luck is not easy. This isn't advisable.
I think he's trying to find just a slot to actually be able to swing it round to a J-turn. Go on, you can do it. Nicely done. Oh, I'll tell you what, I don't approve of reversing down the track, but that's still a nice J-turn. Peter's not happy.
School teacher Tut going on here behind the microphone. Yeah, reversing down the track, not on. Not on. Even
I mean, I have been witness in a race to that not panning out. So yes, I can completely understand your shake of the head and terse tut.
Was a good J-turn though, I'll give you that. Yeah, that's not redeeming, but yeah. Sarah Raab into pit lane from the lead of Am for her final stop. That will likely place Andy Archer into the lead, so he would, if he finishes there, he will extend his quite significant lead in the Am Championship as well. Now, in terms of the gap between Andaruti and Davidson, Andaruti is pushing. He pulled half a second 2 laps ago. He pulled another 0.3 of a second the previous lap. So the gap now is just 1.5 seconds between Alex Davidson and Leandro Andaruti. So Andaruti is driving the wheels off that Porsche. He is just keeping Lucas Prada at bay. But I think this is all going to come down to how the traffic falls, Paul.
I think the track conditions out there are really catching people out now. I saw your own Kaiser was stopped out on track. Now Ben Gregory has taken a tour back to pit road. Track temperature now 50. That's 50 degrees Celsius, which in freedom units is a lot.
Yeah, that's over 120 Fahrenheit, isn't it? Yeah. That's serious. That's one of the highest temperatures you'll see on the iRacing platform. and you really won't see it very often in the outdoor world either. I do remember it being at the Rally Islas Canarias, and one of the tyre technicians zapped the road with their kind of temperature probe, and it was 54 Celsius.
I think the only time I've seen hotter conditions in iRacing is Interlagos. I think that is the only venue that I've seen hotter conditions for track temperature in iRacing.
You can cook square sausage on the track at Interlagos as well. Okayama, you occasionally get it, quite a hot one as well in Japan as well. But how are these Altus cars going to work themselves out, Paul? Because Iglesias now leads from Vasquez. Vasquez is the car, let's be honest, he's the car fighting in the championship. And it did seem that Iglesias went by relatively uncontested. Are they going to have a thrash here? Because they're not pulling away from McFarlane. That gap is sitting steady at 4 seconds, so any form of trip up and McFarlane will be on them.
I think if you're at Vasquez, with the move that was made by Iglesias, I think it was a case of, all right, yeah, you go ahead, mate. I'll sit behind for a while. I think you will see him making some moves towards the end of this race. I mean, we've got 9 minutes remaining, so around about 5 laps at the line to go, and then we'll be able to see how things all pan out. Worth pointing out, Sarah Raab, after that pit stop, and it was a planned pit stop, comes out second in class in 21st, so really good effort from Sarah today, and we are down to 33 cars remaining circulating out on track.
That's remarkable, from 49 starters.
Sedgley has just stopped out on track now as well, and that's why he's backwards. He's exactly the same as James Armstrong. So what has happened is it's almost a carbon copy. And that, I believe, is that Brian's son? It is. Oh, that's a heavy contact. Who was that?
I think it was a Lamborghini.
It's a Lamborghini, yeah.
Dear. So again, at Bathurst, sometimes it is real luck of the draw. You can just be going along, minding your own business. Someone spins in front of you, and there just is not time to react.
Now that is crucial though, because Daniel Sedgley, going into this round, was your Pro-Am Championship leader, and he was on for some really good points there as well. He was in that top 10, so he was looking at some really good points there. He is dropping down. It's a question of, has he used his fast repair? Because if he's not used his fast repair, and this is your own Kaiser's point of view, yeah, he went for a gap and it was closing. Paul, your own.
There was nothing you could do. The road was completely blocked. It's easy to say, why didn't you stop? But trust me, it happens so quickly that tell you what, in the outdoor Bathurst 12 hours, you've got the best marshals in the world there to be working the flags at that particular section of track. Wow, as that's Kaiser, I think the steering's definitely bent, and oh dear, everyone else having to make their way around, and this is the sort of thing that could happen to the leaders at any point. This could really flip on its head at any stage. Just under 7 minutes to go here at Bathurst, and James Boemi came into this round 29 points behind Sedgley in the Pro-Am title chase. That'll go down to almost nothing at this stage.
I would suspect that Boemi will take the lead of the Pro-Am Championship here. There is James in his Brabham Esports Hissing Sid car. Through he goes towards Forest Elbow once again. 6 and change remaining here in this race. Still Iglesias, Vasquez at the front. Ross McFarlane's got that gap to just under 4 seconds now, but he's not catching up at a fast enough rate, so I think he's going to be in for a podium spot, 3rd place. As we said, James Boemi, there he is on screen, is your top Pro-Am driver. Justin Clarson's now up into 9th place. Ethan Critchley 10th in your Pro-Ams. Ams, it's still Andy Archer now 18th with Sarah Raab 20th, and the next best Am, 23rd, is the Magic Sandwich himself, Magic Sakovic for Team Mad.
The magic sandwich. That's a nickname to have, isn't it? As well as a very
that's a Will Vincent coined one. Yeah,
very
I think
good.
that's because he couldn't say his name once on a broadcast.
That's one way to get around it. Well, that poor Team Mad Lamborghini a bit battle scarred there after that altercation. That's a real pity. Now, update on our two overall championship leaders, their battle. Well, Anderutti's just pulled another chunk of time out of Alex Davidson. That gap is now down to 1.3 seconds. So Anderutti getting closer and closer. And if he could just drag a few more tenths, he'll be able to start to pick up some slipstream from Davidson, you know. And
he's still dragging along with him Lucas Prada as well. So Pure Sims, it's going to be an Anderutti sandwich there between the two Pure Sims cars. But yeah, that could be either fireworks or it could be bowling shoe ugly. How that goes at the end of the race here. We are looking at the two race leaders right now with 4 minutes 20 remaining. These two have not been separated since the final, since the drop of the flag, really, isn't it? These two have just been absolutely together. And Simon Feigl right now at Altus Esports down under, he'll be, if he is awake, he'll be pacing around going, come on lads, let's have a good photo finish for the sponsors and let's get a result here. Yeah, that's who would want to be a team manager in situations like that. They've been flawless all race long, it must be said. It could be the only slight I was looking at the pit stop times. Iglesias did take on 1.6 seconds more fuel over the course of the race, so it could be that Iglesias is a little bit, shall we say, more comfortable on fuel, and that's why Vasquez tucked in behind him, because he needed to save some fuel to get to the flag. Maybe it's just one working theory. Will they be allowed to go for it? Maybe they're hoping that the team boss is asleep, so they can have a thrash for the win. They've got no one to tell them not to. They're coming through down the Conrad Straight, and I think it was down the Conrad Straight actually where once John Cleland was live on Channel 7 on the team radio, because they were listening to his team radio, and he had a few colourful words said over the team radio because the drive shaft decided to fail down the Conrad Straight.
Yes. He did, and then did they not interview him mid-race as well? They
interviewed him in the pit lane whilst they were trying to fix the car.
Yeah, this is a word we say in Scotland when things aren't going very well. And I loved it one time we did an interview. It's like there's two things the Australians like, is motorsport and swearing.
He was a character, as John.
He was.
Still is.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah.
And if you want to buy a Volvo from him, then go to Cleland at the Borders.
Gala Shields, yeah.
Yeah, Gala Shields, yeah. But now, as we say, we're sat here waiting for them to get onto the Conrad Straight, these two. Are they going to fight? Because I reckon we've got another lap and a half of this race remaining here. Are we going to see Vasquez for the championship? It would benefit him in the championship, going past Tristan Iglesias, or is Iglesias thinking, I've had such a bad start to the season, you're still getting some really good points here, but I want to win to get back into the swing of things?
Yeah, there's definitely two theories there, isn't there? Yeah, get Iglesias back into the hunt with a win, or do you put all your eggs in one basket with 9 rounds left, including this one? So yeah, a difficult one for these Altus cars, because McFarlane is not far behind, just over 3 seconds. Speaking of Pure Sims and championship fight, well, Davidson and Anderutti, that gap is now just down to 0.7 of a second. As Vasquez thinks better of it, decides not to plot a move on his teammate there as well. But Anderutti is now into the draft of Davidson, and you know that Anderutti, if he gets a whiff of an opportunity, he's going to go for it on that Porsche. The only play he's got in his book with that car is under brakes, and you know he's going to go for it.
Barney's waving the white flag. He's not surrendering. He's telling his drivers, you've got one more lap to go here around Bathurst. And these drivers that are remaining in this race, all 34 of them that are still going round, they've just got one more tour of this circuit to make it to the end of this race. Up the mountain straight for the first time. I don't expect to see Vasquez make a move here. You can make moves into Quarry. We've seen it done. But so far, Vasquez is staying behind for the time being. Into the cutting now. You're not going to be seeing any overtakes being made through the next half of the lap, if I'm honest. Track temperature, by the way, up to 51 degrees now. So absolutely fry your eggs weather out there today in the virtual Bathurst. And well, these two, they've just been a class at the front. Not completely a class of their own, but certainly have been showing the rest of the field how you go about this motor race. Down through the dipper they go once again, heading towards Forest Elbow, and it's this next corner which will decide it. How's the run out of the corner for both of them? Doesn't look too bad for Iglesias, if you ask me. He pulled out a little bit of a gap there, but it's how strong the slipstream is. Down the Conrod straight, and well, I think we're just getting our answer right now. He's going to squeeze him a little, but Vasquez to the front of the field, down the Conrad straight. He can make a move into the chase, can Iglesias, but no, he thinks twice about that. So Aaron Vasquez, he came into this round third place in the Pro Championship. He's just got one more corner to go, and he will be a race winner here today. Round Murray's, it's an Altus Esports 1-2. It's victory for Aaron Vasquez.
Yeah, well, there was your answer then. Coordination. Aaron Vasquez goes through and wins the race as well. Davidson and Anderuti continued their battle as well. Anderuti got to as close as half a second to Davidson, and then all of a sudden dropped to 1.4 seconds back. So something happened on that last lap there. But your winner in Pro-Am, James Buemi, what a drive from him. 7th overall, Paul. That's a super performance.
If ever there was a day to get yourself some good points if you're a pro or an AM, it is today, that is for sure. Your leading AM, well, that is Andy Archer, and he's still coming up over the top of the mountain, heading down through Skyline. He's got to be careful not to make any mistakes, not to throw this one away on the last lap. Sarah Raab is loitering nearby, so he's got to keep pushing. It's his teammate behind though, so he has got a little bit of assistance, has Andy. But down the Conrad straight for the final time. But I mean, Peter, a word about your... Oh, my goodness. That's a Brabham car out of control coming across the line there. James Armstrong, we've seen him with the excellent car control in the past. Well, hangs on to that one around the final corner. But I'll get to you in a second, Peter, because your race leader in AM is going to be coming through towards Murray's for the final time. Andy Archer for Century Sim Esports. He'll get around that corner. It'll be a wipe of the brow and relief as he comes across the line, because he is your AM winner here today. But Peter, I want a word. Altus Esports, that went perfectly for them.
It did. An utterly flawless execution. As we know at Bathurst, that isn't the whole picture. You do need a little bit of fortune to go your way. It didn't go Jack Sedgwick's way. We're going to see a Bathurst special trick that you couldn't possibly do in the outdoor world. And Leandro
no, we're not.
Oh, he's backed out of it. No, well, there is a jump there. We're going to see Prada have a go in the big.
I think he's run out of fuel.
No, I think he's not got the fuel. Well, someone's bound to do it, but yeah, I think for Sedgwick had a chance to win that race, and it just unfortunately didn't go his way. As one of the altitude Ferraris going to do it? No,
they're all behaving themselves.
Don't be shy. Have a
how
fly.
dare they? Well, let's take you through your provisional results then, and it is Altus Esports 1-2 for Aaron Vasquez and Tristan Iglesias. there at the front of the field. Ross McFarlane able to get third place in the end for the Pure Sims Esport driver, just 3 seconds off of the 2 race leaders by the end of the race. Alex Davidson, good day for him for the championship, 4th place overall, ahead of his championship rival, but only just ahead of Leandro Andaruti. Lucas Prada in 6th place, and then your top Pro-Am, James Boehme for Altitude Esports. Fantastic stuff for him to finish in 7th place ahead of Christoph Krekas. Justin Claessens for German SimRacing.de by ACV. He's your 2nd place Pro-Am driver ahead of his teammate Massimo Locatello. Tom Brown ends up in 3rd place in Pro-Am, beating out Ethan Critchley, with Daniel Handover in 13th place overall. James Armstrong then we saw wiggling across the line at the end there ahead of his teammate Hunter McDaniel. Ashley Finch, Adam Watson, and then your top am of Andy Arch of Century Sim Esports in 18th place, Pete Harrod 19th, and Sarah Raab 2nd place in am, 20th overall. Aaron Rose and Tim Perry are the next two, 21st, 22nd. Magic Sakovic for Team Mad, he finishes 23rd overall, 3rd place in class as well for him, ahead of Adam Hedgecock, Paddock Faulkner. Daniel Sedgley, oh, what could have been for Daniel in this one, finishes 26th ahead of Mark Woodhouse, Lars van Rijn, Richard Simner, your own Kaiser we saw getting caught out by an incident in front of him, Paul Crawford, David Valls, with Jack Osborne and Ben Gregory, the last 2 running. The rest did not finish the race. Brian Sun, Adam Tompkins, Marvin Lesmolman, Harold Stadler, Jack Sedgwick, Jensen Adriansons, and yet there's more to come here, because Sophia Ridpath, Josh Thompson, Daniel Nolt, Jim Whitehouse, Jordan Johnson, Jonathan Walker, Joe Newman, Lee Berridge and Fabio Unvadros are all drivers who did not finish this race. It was a race of attrition. Just 34 cars actually took the checkered flag in this race from 49 starters. But Peter, I do believe that we are going to get to speak to our Pro-Am winner in this race, and that'll be James Boehme, who'll be joining us in the commentary box.
James, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. That looked like a flawless drive, but tell us how it went from the cockpit.
Well, it was very stressful. Lots of carnage, and there's a lot of dicing around. I think when Josh Thompson got past me, I was sort of hanging out with Armstrong and keeping up with them lot for quite a bit of the race, and that was part of my strategy really. And I think I was sort of communicating quite a bit with my team. And I got to sort of thank them for giving me good advice on how to sort of, I guess you could say, position myself in that small pack. And before I forget, I'm going to thank all our sponsors as well. So Freem, Sim Stickers, Finding Speed, GD Designs, and Mr. Hedge Photography as well, for all the support that I got today.
Can't forget Mr. Hedge, absolutely not. Now, tell us, James, because there's in the World GT endurance races, there's lots of different ways to skin a cat. We saw lots of strategies in that race. What was yours in terms of where did you put your pit stops and what tyres did you take at those stops?
Well, thankfully, my strategy sort of worked out where I was able to actually take tyres in both my stops. Basically calculated the exact fuel number I needed, and relative to Christoph behind me for quite a bit, and I gained quite a bit. But yeah, there's a lot of alternate strategies today. I think I saw Andaruti going in very early, so he must have underfueled at the start, but it paid off at the end. So I think it's one of these tracks where as soon as you hit some sort of 5-6 car traffic, the thinking about pitting is actually quite a good idea early.
Well, it certainly worked out. It certainly worked out very well today, James. Congratulations on a 7th overall and a win in the Pro-Am class, and good luck for the next round.
Very much. See you next round.
Well, I mean, we speak of the next round of the championship, and look where we head on over to. I mean, it is a circuit that is not liked by many. Well, especially not if your name is Paul Smith and you sat in this commentary booth. But Circuit Zolder next week. It's notoriously difficult to overtake around that track. We've got 2 40-minute feature races with mandated pit stops and a reverse grid for race 2. What could possibly go wrong next week?
Well, the catering is legendary at Zolder. I mean, the beer and chips at Zolder are out of this world. I have to say, to drive the track I love it. I really enjoy driving Zolder. To race in a feature event where, it's going to be packed. Of course, we'll have a reverse grid race for race 2, depending on how that's drawn. I think, again, although there's only one pit stop to do in the feature, where you put that pit stop is going to be vitally important, I think, Paul. Like you said, not easy to overtake on track. So where's the best place to overtake? On the pit wall, up in the brain. It's going to be another thinking race like we had today.
Yeah, absolutely. So do engage those brains in a week's time here on RaceSpotTV. But I'm afraid that is all that we've got time for here today. Thank you very much to Peter Mackay and Hugo Luis behind the scenes. I've been Paul Smith. And well, that has been the World GT Championship. It was a day that Altus Esports won't forget here. And Aaron Vasquez is helping himself towards that Pro Championship. Until next time, thanks a lot. Bye now.